I was 23 years old when I broke down crying in the bathroom of a cheap rented apartment in Chicago. Not because I lost my job, not because someone broke my heart. I cried because I realized I was living a life I never truly chose. I woke up each morning feeling empty. I didn't hate my job, but I didn't love it either. I wasn't broke, but I always felt like I was in debt, to time, to energy, to purpose. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. I saw a version of myself that was stuck, faded, going through the motions, living far below what I knew I was capable of. Have you ever felt that way? You know you're meant for more. You know you could be stronger, better, sharper. You feel it deep down, like something great is inside you, just waiting to be unleashed. But your current life, it doesn't reflect that potential at all. And here's the truth. You're not alone. A lot of people with talent, drive, and dreams feel stuck. Not because they're lazy, but because they lack something powerful. A personal system for transformation. In this video, you'll discover why willpower and motivation aren't enough to change your life. How a man mocked in front of thousands became one of history's greatest legends. And how you can build a daily system that makes success inevitable. We don't rise to the level of our dreams. We fall to the level of our systems. If you're ready to do more than just improve, if you're ready to transform, stick with me until the end of this video. Because from here on, everything can change. 1. The brutal truth. You're not there yet. I want you to pause for a second and think about where you are in life right now. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, financially, in your health, in your habits, in your sense of purpose. And now, think about where you wish you were. That version of you. The one who's confident, focused, disciplined. The one who's successful, respected, fulfilled. The one who wakes up every day excited to live. And now, here's the hard truth. You're not that person yet. Not because you're broken, not because you're lazy, but because you haven't become them yet. There's a gap between who you are and who you know you could be. And that gap, it's not closed by luck. It's not closed by waiting. It's not even closed by working harder at random things. It's only closed by becoming someone different. You see, most people are trying to get to their dream life while staying the same person. But it doesn't work that way. You can't reach the top of the mountain with the mindset that kept you stuck at the bottom. You want the strength of someone disciplined, but you're still negotiating with yourself every morning. You want the confidence of someone who takes risks, but you're still clinging to your comfort zone. You want results, but you don't want to pay the price for them. I get it. I was there too. I wanted growth, but I didn't want to feel discomfort. I wanted progress, but I wasn't willing to change the systems that kept me stagnant. And here's the little turning point I learned along the way. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you're willing to become. So maybe the question isn't, what do I want? Maybe the real question is, what am I willing to transform into to deserve that life? Because let's face it, if your current habits, thoughts, and identity were enough, you'd already be living that life. And you're not. Which means something has to change, and not just on the surface. Not a new app, not a 5-minute journal, not one more podcast episode. We're talking transformation, the kind that shifts who you are at your core. In the next part, we'll talk about why motivation isn't the answer, and why transformation is the only way forward. Let's go deeper. Next, you don't need more motivation. You need a transformation. 02. You don't need more motivation. You need a transformation. If motivation was the answer, you would have done it already. Think about it. You've had your moments, right? That late night after a powerful video. That walk after a breakup. That morning when you looked in the mirror and said, "That's it. I'm changing my life." And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you did. You ate healthier. You woke up earlier. You pushed harder. But then, life happened. The fire faded. The habits broke. And little by little, you slipped right back to where you were before. That's because motivation is a spark, not a fuel tank, and sparks are beautiful. But they die quickly without something to keep them burning. Most people think they just need more motivation. A better video, a better book, a better playlist. But what they really need is a different identity. Because true transformation isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when I wanted to be a morning person. I watched all the 5 a.m. club videos, set alarms, downloaded sleep tracking apps, and some mornings, I crushed it. But most mornings, I hit snooze, again and again. Because deep down, I still saw myself as someone who hated mornings. I was trying to act like a different person, without becoming that person. That's the mistake so many of us make. We try to change our behavior while keeping the same self-image. We want to act like winners, but we still see ourselves as someone who struggles. We want to perform like the confident version of us, but we still believe we're the insecure one. Motivation works when the identity matches the vision, but transformation starts when you upgrade who you believe you are. And how do you do that? You act like the person you want to become, long before you feel like that person. That means you show up before you feel ready. You keep going even when your mind says, just one day off. You train yourself to stay consistent even when your emotions try to drag you back. Because every time you follow through, you cast a vote for a new identity. Here's the lesson I want you to carry with you. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your identity. And identity isn't changed in one day. It's shaped one action at a time. So in the next part, we'll look at someone who embodied this principle. A man who was mocked, humiliated, and counted out, and yet built himself into one of history's greatest voices. His story will show you what real transformation actually looks like. Let's talk about Demosthenes. Next, the legend of Demosthenes, from Laughingstock to legacy. 3. The enemy within, expecting comfort and growth. Here's something nobody tells you when you begin the journey of becoming better. Growth doesn't feel good, at least not at first. In fact, the early stages of change often feel like failure. Like you're getting worse, not better. Like you're pretending to be someone you're not. And that's exactly when most people quit. Not because they're weak, but because they expected it to feel natural. We all carry this quiet, dangerous expectation. If it's right for me, it should feel easy. If it's aligned, I should feel excited. But here's the truth. The process of growth rarely feels like alignment. It feels like resistance, like friction, like you're pushing against the current of who you used to be, and you are. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone who's never lifted weights suddenly trying to bench press 135 pounds. They struggle, shake, maybe even fail. Their muscles tremble. Their brain screams, "This is wrong. This isn't me." But what they don't realize is that discomfort is exactly how they become the person who can lift it with ease. Discomfort is not a sign you're on the wrong path. It's the proof you're becoming someone else. That's why the real enemy isn't your lack of discipline. It's not your schedule. It's not even your self-doubt. The real enemy is the belief that growth should be comfortable. Because as long as you believe that, you'll see discomfort as a red flag instead of a rite of passage. And every time things get hard, you'll walk away, when in fact, you were right where you needed to be. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a time when I joined a public speaking group to improve my confidence. I imagined I'd walk in, share my thoughts, and feel empowered. I thought I'd find my voice. What I found instead was fear. My hands shook. My voice cracked. I forgot half my speech in front of a dozen strangers. It felt awful. But the second time, it felt a little less awful. And the third time, I started to find rhythm. By the 10th, I wasn't just speaking, I was leading. The lesson? Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the entry fee. You have to walk through it. Not avoid it. Not numb it. Not explain it away. Just walk through. Because the version of you that feels natural right now is the version that's keeping you stuck. So from here on out, I want you to make a small shift. When things feel uncomfortable, don't run. Lean in. Because that's the edge of who you are now, and the beginning of who you're becoming. And speaking of becoming, in the next part, you'll meet someone who embodied this truth. He was laughed at, mocked, rejected. But instead of running, he leaned in. Let me introduce you to a man named Demosthenes, and the legend he built from failure. Next, the legend of Demosthenes, from Laughingstock to legacy. 4. The legend of Demosthenes, from Laughingstock to legacy. Let me tell you about a man who had every reason to give up, but chose not to. His name was Demosthenes. Today, he's remembered as one of the greatest public speakers in human history. But that's not where his story began. Not even close. When he was a boy in ancient Athens, Demosthenes had a speech impediment. He stuttered. He slurred his words. He couldn't pronounce sounds properly. His voice was weak and shaky, and people laughed when he opened his mouth. He wasn't born a legend. He was born a laughingstock. But here's where the story turns. He wanted to speak. He wanted to stand on the public stage, to lead, to inspire. And so, he began. He stood before the Athenian assembly, trembling, and tried to give his first speech. He was mocked, interrupted, laughed off the stage. Can you imagine that? Standing in front of your entire city, pouring your heart out, only to be met with ridicule? That could have been the end of the story. It would have been the end for most people. But not for Demosthenes. Because in that moment of failure, he didn't say, "I'm not good enough." He said, "I will become good enough." And that changed everything. What he did next was nothing short of extraordinary. He built a small underground study, literally beneath the ground, to isolate himself from distractions. He practiced speaking with pebbles in his mouth to train his pronunciation. He shouted over crashing waves by the ocean so his voice would become strong and clear. He shaved half his head so he'd be too embarrassed to go out in public, forcing himself to stay focused on training. Every day. For years. With no audience, no applause, no shortcut. Just silence. Sweat. And repetition. He didn't wait for confidence. He built it. Through commitment. Through discomfort. Through thousands of hours no one ever saw. And slowly, the impossible began to happen. He returned to the assembly. He stood taller, spoke clearer. And this time, people listened. Eventually, they cheered. Eventually, they followed. And long after his death, they remembered. The same man who was once laughed off the stage became the most respected orator in all of Greece. And when people asked him the secret, he didn't credit talent, or luck, or family status. He said just one word: practice. Here's the lesson. You don't have to start as the best, but you do have to start. Because greatness isn't about being gifted. It's about being willing to go underground, to work when no one's watching, to put the metaphorical pebbles in your mouth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it looks ridiculous. Demosthenes didn't wait to become a legend. He made daily choices that shaped one. And now, it's your turn. In the next part, we'll break down what you actually need to follow through on that kind of transformation. Because it's not more motivation. It's not more pressure. It's something far more powerful. Something most people overlook. Let's talk about systems. Next. Why willpower isn't your problem. 5. Why willpower isn't your problem. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever called yourself lazy? Ever whispered, "I just don't have enough willpower," after skipping the gym, hitting snooze, or abandoning a goal halfway? If you have, you're not alone. But you're also not right. Here's the truth most people never hear. Willpower isn't your problem. In fact, your willpower is probably fine. Think about it. You get up every day. You handle responsibilities. You care for others. You show up to work, even when you're tired. That takes willpower. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You've just been relying on willpower for the wrong things. You see, we've been taught this myth, that the people who succeed are just more disciplined, that they somehow wake up craving vegetables and can't wait to do hard things. But the truth is, even the most successful people don't rely on willpower to win the day. Because willpower is a limited resource. It runs out. It fades under stress. It disappears when you're tired, anxious, or overwhelmed. And if your entire plan depends on feeling strong every day, then your plan is built on sand. So what do high performers do differently? They don't try harder. They design smarter. They build systems that support their success, whether they feel like it or not. They remove decision fatigue. They reduce friction. They make the right choice, the easier one. Let me show you what that looks like. A friend of mine used to skip workouts all the time. He wanted to go to the gym. He believed in fitness. But every evening, he'd come home, crash on the couch, and lose momentum. Then one day, he changed one small thing. He packed his gym bag the night before and left it in front of his door. Now, every morning, it was right there. He didn't have to think, didn't have to choose. He just grabbed the bag and left. That one system, a small change in his environment, led to 6 consistent months at the gym. Not because his willpower grew, but because his reliance on willpower shrank. That's the secret most people miss. It's not about having more drive. It's about needing less of it. So if you've been beating yourself up for not being motivated enough, stop. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just missing the structure. And that's what we'll build next. In the next part, I'll show you how to structure your day, your goals, and your habits around one simple principle that changes everything. The 3-hour rule. How to make real progress every single day, even with a busy life. Next, the 3-hour rule. Minimum investment for maximum mastery. 6. The 3-hour rule. Minimum investment for maximum mastery. Here's something we rarely ask ourselves honestly. How much time does it actually take to change your life? Most people either underestimate or overthink it. They say, "I don't have time to chase my goals." But somehow, they scroll 2 hours on their phone, watch 3 episodes on Netflix, just to unwind. And I get it. Life is demanding. But if something really matters to you, you'll need to make time, not wait for it to appear. So let's keep it simple. Let me give you a number. 3 hours a day. 3 focused hours. That's all it takes to radically change your direction over the next year. Not 10 hours. Not overnight hustle. Just 3 hours. dedicated to the person you want to become. Let me explain why this number matters. There are 24 hours in a day. Let's say you work 8, sleep 7, handle life stuff for 4 more. That still leaves 5 hours. So here's the question. What if you claimed just 3 of them? For you. 3 hours to practice your craft, to study, to build your business, to create, to heal, to grow. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine wanted to become a UX designer, but he worked full-time at a coffee shop. He didn't go back to college. He didn't have a fancy mentor. He just gave himself 3 hours every evening to learn, study, and practice. 6 months later, he had a portfolio. 8 months in, he landed freelance gigs. By the end of the year, he quit the coffee job and joined a design firm. No shortcuts, no hype, just 3 hours a day. Now, let's do the math together. 3 hours per day times 30 days equals 90 hours per month. 90 hours times 12 months equals 1,080 hours per year. You know what that is? That's expert-level practice. That's mastery territory. And that's within reach for anyone, not just the privileged, not just the naturally gifted. The secret is consistency, not intensity. Small, deliberate actions, compounded over time, build giants. But here's the catch. Those 3 hours won't magically open up. You have to carve them out, protect them, and fill them with the right actions. That's where most people slip. They say, I'll work on my goals if I have time. But time doesn't appear. It must be taken. So here's your small challenge. Before today ends, open your calendar. Look at your 24 hours and ask yourself, where are my 3 hours hiding? Because once you find them, you're not just managing your time, you're reshaping your future. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly how to use those hours wisely, not by doing more, but by doing what matters every single day without fail. We'll talk about something called non-negotiables. These are the actions that move your life forward, no matter how you feel, what's going on, or what excuse tries to show up. Next, build non-negotiables, your daily war plan. 7. Build non-negotiables, your daily war plan. Let me ask you something simple. What do you do when no one's watching? Not when you're feeling pumped. Not when the timing is perfect. I mean those days when you're tired, when it's raining outside, when you're overwhelmed, anxious, low on energy. What happens then? Most people negotiate with themselves. They say, maybe I'll write later. I'll hit the gym tomorrow. I'll get back on track next week. And slowly, without even noticing, the momentum dies, the vision fades, and comfort creeps back in. But the people who change their lives, the ones who actually transform, they don't negotiate, they execute, because they've built something powerful into their day. Non-negotiables. A non-negotiable is a daily action you commit to, no matter what. Not if I feel like it, not when I'm in the mood, but this gets done. Period. It's your daily war plan, your minimum standard for progress. Let me tell you a story. There's a woman I know, Sarah, who wanted to become a writer, but she had 2 kids, a full-time job, and barely any quiet time. She kept saying, I'll write when things slow down. But things never slowed down. One day, she changed her approach. She made one small rule. Write 500 words every day. No excuses. She woke up 30 minutes earlier. Sometimes she wrote in the car, parked outside soccer practice. Some days, her words were trash. Other days, they flowed like magic. But she never skipped. And 9 months later, she had a finished manuscript, not because she had the most time, but because she had a non-negotiable. Here's what I want you to understand. Consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from structure. So let's get practical. What you need to do is identify the 1 to 2 daily actions that, if done consistently, would move you closer to your goal. Not 5 things, not a long checklist, just the few that matter most. If you're building a business, it could be 1 hour of deep work, 5 outreach messages daily. If you're getting fit, 45 minutes of movement, 1 healthy meal prepped in advance. If you're learning a skill, 60 minutes of focused practice, review notes every evening. Simple, measurable, repeatable. Now here's the key. You protect these non-negotiables like your dream depends on it, because it does. Unless there's a true emergency, these are your daily musts. If someone invites you out, schedule it after. If you're tired, do it tired. If you miss a day, you never miss 2. Because the identity you're building, the future you're chasing, depends on you showing up. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And that's what non-negotiables teach you, how to stop waiting and start becoming. In the next part, we'll explore how to make this even easier. Because showing up is easier when your environment works for you, not against you. Let's talk about designing your space to support your success. Next, design your battleground, environmental engineering. 8. Design your battleground, environmental engineering. Have you ever tried to eat healthy, with a bag of chips staring at you from the kitchen shelf? Or tried to study, while your phone kept lighting up with texts and TikToks? If you have, you know what it feels like to fight a battle you didn't even realize you signed up for. And that battle isn't just in your head, it's all around you. Because here's the truth, your environment is either working for you or against you. But it's never neutral. Most people think discipline is about sheer willpower. But willpower is reactive. Environment is proactive. If your workspace is cluttered, if your bed is next to your desk, if your phone is the first thing you touch in the morning, you're already setting yourself up for distraction, even before you've started. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a guy I met at a productivity seminar. Let's call him Jake. He was smart, motivated, and had huge goals. But every time he tried to write, he got distracted. We looked at his setup. His desk was next to his TV. Notifications were on. He had 15 browser tabs open. His goal was clear. But his environment was chaos. He didn't need more focus. He needed less friction. So we simplified. He cleared the desk, moved the TV, installed a blocker for social media, kept only 1 tab open, set a specific writing playlist. 1 week later, he told me, I didn't get smarter. I just got out of my own way. That's what environment design does. It removes resistance. It makes the right thing easy and the wrong thing inconvenient. Here are a few simple ways you can start. Want to work out more? Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Want to eat cleaner? Prep meals on Sunday. Keep junk food out of the house. Want to focus better? Turn off notifications. Use website blockers. Put your phone in another room. Want to create more? Keep your tools visible. Ready. Set up the night before. None of this is about discipline. It's about making your environment do the heavy lifting. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. James Clear. And your environment? It's part of your system. So ask yourself, what small changes could you make today to make success easier and failure harder? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your growth is not trying harder, but setting the stage better. And once that stage is set, you'll need a way to keep the momentum alive, to make sure you're not just starting strong, but staying consistent. In the next part, we'll talk about how to track your progress, bounce back when you fall off, and keep your system evolving as you do. Next, track, adjust, repeat, the feedback loop of legends. 9. Track, adjust, repeat, the feedback loop of legends. Let's get honest about something. No plan survives real life perfectly. You can set your goals, design your environment, commit to your non-negotiables. But life will still throw curveballs. You'll get sick. You'll miss a day. You'll fall off track, maybe for a week or more. And when that happens, what matters isn't what went wrong. It's how you respond to it. Because transformation isn't built in the moments when everything's going well. It's built in the moments when you fall off and get back on. Here's the mistake most people make. They treat setbacks like failure. They say, I missed one day. I've ruined everything. I slipped up on my diet. Might as well quit. I'm behind. So why bother catching up? But here's what legends do differently. They don't spiral. They self-correct. Let me share a story. A good friend of mine had a habit tracking journal. He marked an X every day he practiced guitar. One day, he got sick and missed 2 days in a row. The old him would have tossed the journal. But this time, he had one rule: never miss 3 days. That tiny rule changed everything. He missed sometimes, sure, but never for long, because he had a built-in system to return. That's what tracking does. It gives you visibility, clarity, feedback. It's not about guilt. It's about awareness. Here's how you can use it. 1. Track the actions that matter, your non-negotiables, your progress, your energy. 2nd, review weekly. Take 10 minutes every Sunday to ask, oh, what worked? Oh, what didn't? Oh, what needs to shift? 3. Adjust without drama. If something's not working, change it. Don't beat yourself up. Refine the system. Tighten the flow. Simplify the steps. Because no one builds the perfect routine on the first try. Even the most successful people iterate. They tweak. They evolve. Progress isn't linear, but commitment can be. That's the magic of the feedback loop. You track, you adjust, you repeat, and over time, those micro-adjustments compound into massive shifts. So here's the lesson. You don't need to be perfect. You just need a way to bounce back. And once you've got that, once you've got momentum, reflection, and flexibility on your side, you become unstoppable. In the final part of this journey, we'll put it all together. We'll talk about the power of compound effort and how quiet, invisible actions done daily lead to the kind of transformation the world can't ignore. Next, the compound effect, becoming unstoppable. 10. The compound effect, becoming unstoppable. Let me tell you a quiet truth. Transformation rarely announces itself. There's no drum roll, no fireworks, no confetti falling from the ceiling the day you finally become who you were meant to be. Instead, it looks like this. Waking up early, even when it's dark and cold. Saying no to distractions when no one's watching. Doing the reps, studying the chapter, showing up again. Day after day after day. And here's the part most people miss. Nothing feels different until everything does. One day, you're just doing your thing. No big change, no major shift. And then someone says, "Hey, have you always been this focused? Wow, I didn't know you were this consistent. You've really changed." And that's when you realize you didn't change overnight. You compounded into someone new. Think of it like water dripping on stone. 1 drop means nothing. 10 drops, still nothing. But 10,000? That rock is different forever. Your effort is no different. Let's take an example. Say you put in 3 hours a day toward your dream. That's 21 hours a week, roughly 90 hours a month, over 1,000 hours a year. You think that version of you at the end of the year isn't going to be different? You think the world won't notice? It will. But here's the thing. You'll notice first. You'll feel calmer under pressure. You'll handle setbacks with wisdom instead of panic. You'll carry yourself differently, not from ego, but from earned confidence. That's what the compound effect gives you. Quiet mastery, unshakable belief, real change from the inside out. And it's available to anyone who's willing to start. Let's tie it all together. If you've come this far, if you've felt that fire building inside you through every chapter of this journey, then you already know. You don't need more motivation. You need transformation. You need structure, not emotion. Systems, not just sprints. You need to become someone different, someone stronger. And you can. You absolutely can. So here's your final challenge. Start. Start messy. Start imperfect. But start today. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for clarity to strike like lightning. The smallest action, done today, is more powerful than the biggest idea, delayed forever. Because you are not stuck. You're just one habit away, one decision away, one system away from becoming unstoppable. Now it's your move. If this message lit something inside you, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment. What's one daily action you'll commit to, starting now? And remember, legends aren't born. They're built. One decision, one day, one drop at a time. Let's build yours.